And welcome back everyone to Howling at the Souls. This is J-Ron, and today we're taking a different approach to the Howling at the Souls series, looking at 5 different Soulsborne builds. First, we're going to start off with a Dark Souls 3 quality build. As our stats stand at 115, we have a 40 Vigor, 10 Attunement, 30 Endurance, 15 Vitality, 40 Strength, 40 Dexterity, 9 Intelligence, 18 Faith, and 7 Luck. And basically what we're doing here is having a high health pool with a decent amount of endurance so we can wield a decent amount of armor with a quality dex and strength setting upon our weapons so we can get a good amount of damage, and having faith to use Tears of Denial. The faith isn't really a needed addition. It's just there. If you want to do Tears of Denial, you can. You don't have to. With the quality build, you get to use a variety of different weapons. I prefer the Claymore, Black Knight Sword, Lothric Knight Greatsword, Crow Quills, Washing Pole. You get the idea. I have a Blessed Cestus to regain our health mildly, and I didn't really do much with bows or anything, or have any use any shields. I just two-handed throughout the whole time. But if you're a parry monster, use whatever shield you wish you want to use. Swelder Shield's always fun. Or I'm just a big fan of the Crest Shields when I do use shields. This is also a great one, the Ethereal Oak Shield, which can do it's like the Shield of Want. You can do your Ash of War, Ash of War, Weapon Art. Same thing, basically. And that's what that's for. It doesn't parry, but it uses your Ash of War. Your armor is your set of fashion that you want to choose. I wanted the Lorian's armor with the Sunset helm. I really wanted the Sunset set, but it was too heavy, so I got all that going on instead. My rings, they could be whatever you want. I wanted the Ring of Favor +3, Havel's ring +3, Granthree ring +3, and the Priestess ring, that can actually be changed out. They all can be really changed out, but this one was because I wanted to use Tears of Denial, but you can put really whatever you want there, whatever benefits your build, And your consumables are your consumables. And that will be it for the quality build, and on to our next. And now, time for our Dark Souls 2 Dex Faith build. This was a pretty good build. Had a good time with it. Looking at 32 Vigor, 30 Endurance, 14 Vitality, 32 Attunement, 15 Strength, 40 Dex, 16 Adaptability, 4 Intelligence, and 60 Faith. So basically what we're going for is to have a medium health pool with a decent amount of endurance, some vitality to wear some really awesome armor, 32 attunement to have a fair amount of spells. We don't want to capitalize on having too many spells because it's more of a melee build. We're going to use our lightning attacks for most of the damage with our lightning infused spear, with strength to meet requirements, dex to cause the extra physical damage, 16 adaptability to get some nice rolls, not the best rolls, but 100 agility ain't bad. Base intelligence, and 60 faith to get a majority of the rest of our damage. What we have for our weapons, we have the Lightning Esparopa +10, and the Lightning Hide Spear +10, both of which I use to a great extent, but if you have other weapons you want to use, you can go right ahead. Those are the ones I just used. We got our Lightning Dragon Chime, which has the highest lightning, like a spell buff at least for lightning in this game. Pretty good. Along with our lovely Drake Blood set, which looks pretty freaking amazing. Third Dragon Ring for stamina, health, and quick load. Life Ring +3 to get extra life out of. Lightning Collect Ring for extra lightning damage at detriment to some extra damage. And a Philanthropy +1. And you can have these. I think this is probably the most crucial part of it, and probably the Philanthropy Ring, but you can switch these out if you want. If you don't want to have something that you can carry more stuff with, you can change up your third Dragon Ring. You don't want the extra life, you don't have to have the extra life, that's all up to you. In our incantations, we are rocking Sunlight Blade, Great Lightning Spears, Perseverance for extra poise, and yeah, that's about that. Pretty decent build, and your consumables are your consumables. Pretty good build. I'd rock it with PvE and PvP. And on to the next. And now to our Bloodborne Strength build. Let's take a look at these stats for Grecker Poops. At 136, we're hitting a 50 Vitality, 30 Endurance, 50 Strength, 30 Skill, 17 blood tinge, and a 9 arcane. Basically, high health, all right endurance. I don't think you need much after 30. I think 40 is the cap on endurance anyway. 50 strength for meaty hits, 30 skill to meet some weapon requirements and do decent damage on viscerals. And the 17 blood tinge kind of worked out later in game when I wanted to start using the bloodletter, but at the point where I got it, it just didn't make sense, and I just kind of stayed with the whirligig saw. The weapons that we used: the whirligig saw plus 10, boom hammer plus 10, Ludwig's holy blade was a huge part for the beginning until I got the whirligig saw. Then everything was just kind of like buzzing away, you know. Then we have the Canehurst set. Looks outrageous. I love how it looks. Oh my god, it fits so well with this stuff. Oh my lord. Anyway, sorry, I got sidetracked. And for our consumables, just buff, and buff. Throw in a bone shaman, a bone blade every now and then to confuse up your enemies so they can attack each other if you don't feel comfortable in the situation. But other than that, buff, and buff for your consumables. For our blood gems, and we'll take a look at the whirligig saw blood gems because I just want to go over all 3 weapons. We have a tempering damp blood gem at 18%. A cursed tempering blood gem at 21% at a cost of a 58.5 weapon durability down, and a physical attack 18% on our other tempering damp blood gem. And for our runes, we got blood rapture for a 200 health restore on our viscerals, Great Lake for all damage reduction at plus 4%, anti-clockwise gives our stamina an extra 15%, and the Imperial Rune because Lawrence sucks without a companion. It's doable, he just sucks. It's like damage. So having Volter in with the fight was pretty damn good. But otherwise, that's what I did. You can actually do whatever you want with that, but I thought the Canehurst looked cool, and with the runes, I thought it gave me the best opportunity to destroy things. And the blood gems. The blood gems, I mean, get the highest ones you can put on there and stick with it. That's my recommendation for this build. Now, on to our next. Alright, now we're going to take a look at a Dark Souls, Dark Sorcerer build. Take a look at our stats. 40 Vitality, 20 Attunement, 20 Endurance, 46 Strength, 12 Dex, 8 Resistance, 46 Intelligence, and 8 Faith. So basically, we're trying to have a good-sized health pool with like 5 attunement slots and a decent amount of spells, and the endurance so we can swing our weapon, the strength that can to do damage with heavy weapons, and strength that scales with our dark sorceries. We'll go over that in a second. 12 dex to meet requirements. Resistance was not used at all because who uses resistance? Faith, obviously for a sorcerer's build we don't use faith, and a 46 intelligence. Normally in a sorcery build I would go to 50, but with this, I'll tell you why. So the weapon I have is the Great Club. I used other ones, and the Great Club I don't think is the best choice for this build. Something a little lighter would probably work, maybe like a Claymore, a large club, or something like that. But I stuck with the Great Club. It worked out for me, but in PvP it was kind of a challenge because it just was so heavy. But I also used the Demon Machete. That was actually pretty fun. Still slow moving. I think that's it for those. And then for our catalysts, our main was Logan's, because it has like a slight strength. It's a tiny strength build or buff onto your sorceries, but we have a standard amount of sources with it. But whereas the Manus Catalyst, let me tell you, the Manus Catalyst put at a cost of the amount of times you can cast a spell, it throws puts strength scaling into the dark sorceries, which makes the Manus Catalyst with the dark sorceries so juicy in PvP and with bosses, because you do a buttload of damage. I swear to God, the damage is unreal, especially when you transfer over to the New Game Plus, because you don't get any of the dark sorceries until later in the game. Crown of Dusk and the Black Cleric set, which I liked a lot. With my playthrough, I thought fit the build pretty well. If you take a look, I thought it fit well, but I think there's better options. But that's what I picked. Crown of Dusk gives us a boost on magic at a detriment to extra damage. Bellowing Dragon Crestwing gives us extra damage to sorceries, and pyromancers if you choose to have a pyromancer. Then we have a ring of favor and protection for the added health, stamina, and equip load. And then don't take it off because of rings. For our spells we're rocking, obviously, we're using dark sorceries. We have pursuers, the dark orb, dark bead, which is that's deadly. Dark bead is deadly. Dark fog, witch. There it is. Causes poison. And yeah, that's it. There's not many dark sorceries, and we can't really cast that many. Then you can see the difference with Logan's Catalyst, but they don't do nearly as much damage. But this build, I think, was very worth it. I mean, you don't get it all until the end, but for New Game Plus, you just kind of rock house. It's good in PvP. I don't recommend the large club or the great club for PvP. Use something a little lighter that swings a little better. Oh, and we're going to be casting again for some strange reason. And bam, like, look at that though. That's like amazing. The great club's amazing. It does do absurd damage, and you can buff it. You're not really putting any magic damage onto that. Just you can buff it with lightning and fire. I don't think they have poison or bleed in this, but still. But I say an all-round good build. Now on to the next and final one. And for our fifth and final build, we're looking at a Death or Sorcerer from Elden Ring, which is kind of experimental, and we'll go over it as we talk about how the magic works in it. So at 182, Belinda here, 40 Vigor, 41 Mind, 20 Endurance, 16 Strength, 21 Dex, 80 Intelligence, 35 Faith, and a base Arcane of 9. Basically, above average health for a Sorcerer, a little below average mind for a Sorcerer. Endurance, Strength, and Dex are all kind of just, we're not attacking anything, we're just meeting requirements. And then we should have Endurance to cast spells and attack some, but we're basically casting very powerful spells. Then 80 Intelligence to increase the power of our sorceries, and a 35 Faith to match up with the Death sorceries, which you would think balancing it out would be better, but the way the stabs work, they favor Intelligence more. Basically, Faith is just a requirement, and the Intelligence kind of scales it up to a prime amount of damage. This also started off as a fire and ice build. It just didn't work out. Switching between the two, for me, was just a little too much, and we'll explain why as we go through. So, Darkman Greatsword for our main, and the Death Ritual Spiel for our other main. Lusat's Glintstone Staff, and the Prince's Staff, the Prince of Death Staff, though it seems pretty geared towards doing more faith, but really the higher tier stabs work out for the sorceries. If you look at the numbers, it works out way better than the Prince's Staff. The Prince's Staff was good for a little while, but once you got Lusat's and what's her name, Renala's Staff, kind of outclass it when casting sorceries. And the Golden Order Seal, because it balanced out the best, but the Golden Order incantations, though they are good, they definitely got outclassed by the death and magic spells I was using. For my armor, it's just purely fashion sense. Like, I thought she looked cool with it. The navy hood, I just like it. There's other options you can use. Remember, these flavor of spells, you can do it. With this flavor of build, you can do whatever you want. For our talismans, Urchi flavor +2. Graven Mass Talisman to boost our sorceries. Godfrey Icon to use charge to increase our charge spells. And the Graven School Talisman to further increase our sorceries, which you could actually trade that one out. There's probably better options. And then your consumables are your consumables. What we had rocking for spells, a Duelist Moonblade, which I think it's still sick. I love that. Ancient Death Rancor. Terra Magica to buff our spells so we can kind of lay waste on stuff. Glitstone Ice Crag. And Explosive Ghost Flame. And all of the idea was to inflict more frostbite. And this is experimental because they didn't really flesh out death sorceries in Elden Ring, which I hope in the DLC they do. And oh yeah, and another thing I really liked about this, because this fit on theme pretty well, was this was a, what's it called? Hold on, Spear Call Ritual. That was really cool. I really liked this. I forgot the name of it. Wow, I'm pretty stupid. The Death Ritual Spear. But this build was highly experimental. I wish they did more with Death Sorceries, but we'll see what they do in the DLC, because that would be exciting for this to get the Death Sorceries to get more fleshed out. But that is that. That's the rest of the builds, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you later.